Hey guys, welcome to my session and thanks for joining. I can understand it's weekdays. Most of the people have their working hours and everything, but still, you guys have joined. Thanks for that. And this session is intended for an introduction to Cisco SDN solution. So how we are going to take it up is we are going to start from understanding the SDN solution itself. And as I always say that before we get into the understanding of any specific solution, we need to understand that what is the requirement of this solution, why we are learning this solution. Otherwise, that does not make sense. Whatever, whether you are attending this from a learning perspective, whether you are attending from an understanding perspective, you are presenting to a candidate, you are presenting to a NOC team, you are presenting to a CIO of a company, at least you should be clear why you are talking about this. If that is not clear, trust me, nothing is going to make sense. So I'm going to take it up from there, and then I will be highlighting again. I'll be highlighting the Cisco's SDN solution like SD-WAN, SD-Access, and ACI. So approximately, I'm going to take it up 30 minutes to 45 minutes to cover up my slide deck. Then I'll be opening up for Q&A. So you guys can chat, post your questions, thoughts, whatever you wanted to say about this, and then I will try to put my thoughts on top of that. So I guess makes sense, and we are good to get started. So first of all, introduction about myself. I guess most of you guys already knows me. If not, my name is Suraj and I'm CCIE certified in routing, switching, security, service provider and data center. I have approximately 10 years of experience in multiple tracks, multiple fields. So without wasting much time, I guess better to get started with our session. First of all, why SDN? Very important question. Means we are in a matured state these days, I can say, about SDN as a solution. It's no more something like still don't know, but yes, there are many folks out. I have seen many people who are still trying to understand how this SDN is going to fit in and why do I need it. That is the main thing. Means my network is working fine since a decade old and everything is as expected. So why do I need this altogether new story of SDN and how much I am capable of doing that? Means in day one, I cannot transform my entire team to support SDN, where they used to support my traditional network, right? So first of all, we need to understand how we can put this in, how we can fit this SDN into our network. And more importantly, why do we need that? Why do we need to make it fit in, right? So first of all, SDN still don't know. I won't say that people are still under same impression of still don't know. For a couple of years when SDN got announced or the rumors came out for SDN, people were under impression of what exactly it is, how it is going to work, how it is going to change our prospect of the networks. But now that is not a case. People are very much aware and solutions are pretty much matured. Not just Cisco, even the if we talk about other vendors also, I guess, and in today's world, most of the vendors are in the line of SDN, and everyone is having one or other SDN solution. That's the different story. They are supporting something else. Some vendors are supporting some other SDN solutions, but major one is we need to understand this umbrella of SDN. So let's talk about why do we need it, and then I will come to that what exactly SDN is. Okay, because you must be having so many here and there's about what exactly this SDN is. So we'll come to that. First of all, let's get started that why do we need SDN? First of all, lack of visibility. Try to understand, guys. Today you have your network, you have data center where you have some couple of applications hosted, some couple of traffic flows are going through. You have your campus network, you have branches across the globe. They are accessing the data center application. Everything is working fine. But what happen is, how much do you know about it? That's the main point. When we say that you know about you know about your traffic, you know about your network, what exactly you know? You know that okay, there is a data center, there are campus, there are branches, they are connecting through MPLS, through internet, and they are talking to each other, and my users are accessing application. That's all. Nothing much. But what about your application flows? How users are accessing the application? Which application is expecting what from network? Which application is behaving in which manner? These are very important point to understand, right? So today's world, we are talking about moving applications to cloud or moving application to some SaaS based subscriptions. If I ask you, are you ready for that? Means right now your application is sitting just behind you, right? In your own data center, which is on-prem data center. And now you're saying that, hey, just take this application out, put it somewhere on the internet, and let my users access the same at the same level or same experience. Are you okay with that? Are you in a condition that you can do this? Why? Because if you don't know how your application is going to behave, if you don't know how much bandwidth is going to consume, how much delay does it require, on how much latency this application works, then how can you provision that application over the WAN? Because you were having a 10 gig LAN where the users were accessing that application directly. Now you are putting it over the WAN and you want that user should be able to access with the same rich experience which they used to have earlier. So that is the main point. You need to understand how exactly that application is going to behave. So that lack of visibility in your legacy network, that is one of the major pain point in which SDN is going to help you. I'm not specifying how right now. Okay. But right now we are talking about where exactly do we need this SDN solution. Second point is SaaS and IaaS adoption. SaaS stands for software as a service. IaaS stands for infrastructure as a service. Very fancy words these days. Everyone is talking about SaaS, everyone's talking about IaaS. And most of us are quite aware of this. What is SaaS? What is IaaS? SaaS is your software as a service, where you have a software which you are hosting as a subscription. Whereas infrastructure as a service, you have the complete infrastructure and you are hosting your infrastructure as a service. So if we take an example, if we take example of SaaS, we have Salesforce, we have Office 365, and so many others. Similarly, if we talk about IaaS, we have cloud services such as AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, and so many. So when we are moving towards, and in today's world, you know, everyone is talking about this. Most of the CIOs wants to move their infrastructure either to SaaS or IaaS to reduce down their infrastructure costs, to reduce down their manpower, to reduce down the manageability. And most importantly, they wanted to put it into a more optimal way instead of hosting everything in-house. Means today I'm opening up a startup and I need some couple of servers, some couple of applications which I wanted to access for my 5 or 10 users. It's a startup. What do you want from me? Do you want from me to set up a entire data center, putting couple of servers on top of it, and then uh, then putting routers, switches, firewalls, get a dedicated space, hire people just for a 5 to 10 employees a startup? Does it really make sense? No, right? It's better to host something over the cloud if you need it. It's better to something get as a subscription if you need it. Why do you want to host everything in your own? And we all know how in today's world how much startups are going to get registered every day. So for supporting them, IaaS and SaaS model is the best. And not just startup. I'm just giving you one example. Many big organizations, many big enterprises are moving towards the SaaS and IaaS. So in the traditional network, support similar application experience, similar connectivity over SaaS and IaaS is a big job. Okay. Then we come to application awareness. Your network is completely unaware of application if we talk about in today's world, because your network doesn't know. Let's take an example. You are hosting an application which is a file download application. Okay. So file download applications such as like FileZilla or something like that. So what exactly you need for that application? Users wants to download the file. That means user wants a higher bandwidth, right? So if user wants an higher bandwidth network for accessing that application, being a network, do you know how this application is going to behave? Do you know that this application is a file download application and you need to put it into a higher bandwidth network or make it highly available so that users can access, or maybe some doing some load sharing, load balancing and all those things. Do being a network, do you know about it? No, for you is a traffic. That's all, whatever it is. So you will treat into us with a similar manner, right? So that application awareness, because of that lack of application awareness, it is very difficult for the users to, or being a network, to provide a best optimal forwarding for the user's application. Because at the end of the day, what matters to the customer? For customer, the main point is to have a rich application experience. They doesn't care which network you are using. They doesn't care which boxes you are using, which technology you are using. Either you are using EIGRP or you are using OSPF or you are running PGP or you have MPLS. They really don't care about. What they cares about it is their application experience. And your network is completely unaware of it. Means you mean to say the key business driver for the customer, and my network is completely unaware of it. Network and application works in silos. So does it really make sense? Does it really make sense to put the key driver of the business away from the network, who is the actually delivering that particular application? No, right? So application awareness for the network is very important. User segmentation, we are still way behind that, how things started working, how technology got evolved. Let's take an example, IoT. Today I'm bringing some IoT devices into my infrastructure, and being a network engineer, I'm asking you, hey, can you please provision my these IoT devices? What provisioning you will do, or what segmentation you will do for IoT devices? Put them into a different VLAN and assign a different subnet. That's all. That's the only level of segmentation you can do. And IoT, you know very well, IoT can announce a good security threat. I'm not saying the entire IoT, but there are IoT devices which may not be that secured, and that can be entry point for many malicious activities or many threats. So what exactly you are doing to prevent for that? What exactly you are basically what exactly you are provisioning for that? Nothing. Putting them into a different VLAN and assigning a different IP subnet. That's all. Or maybe next level, you can put a firewall for east-west flow and just block some particular traffic. That's all. And sometimes you know very well that will impact your network flow as well, right? So we don't have that segmentation in place, which actually required for today's network. IoT was one of the example. Automation, we don't have automation. We are still relying on that way old. If we just wanted to bring in some stack of switches, just you guys can do, you guys must be doing that day in, day out. So if you just wanted to provision some stack of switches into your network, how much time are you going to take? Maybe days or sometime weeks. So provisioning a stack of switches and taking weeks for that actually doesn't make sense for me, right? But in the legacy network, we won't have that capability of doing automation or achieving plug and play, auto provisioning, uh, zero touch provisioning, these kind of things. We won't have that. Okay. Moving forward, these were the points where you can say why SDN. Now I am moving next. What is SDN? Okay, means that's okay. You put so many drawbacks of the legacy network. Now you tell me how your SDN story is going to play around with that. How your SDN story is going to overcome those. Right? That's the main point. Otherwise, what is the point of discussing drawbacks? You can say that, hey, we know all very well all these drawbacks. Means, what is the point of stating all this? Right? So let's talk about SDN. Now it's not going to be still don't know. It is going to be a software defined network. First of all, application integration. SDN is going to SDN is going to enable you to do an application integration. How that application integration is going to happen? You are going to have someone called controller. So that controller is going to sit somewhere inside your network. So you have one guy here stating as a SDN controller. And how this guy is going to play, you have your network and you have your application. So you are going to do an integration of application with this controller, and this controller is having that capability to talk to the network by the use of the whatever means whatever you can say the technology or solution with the network. So with the help of this integration, application can feed its requirement into the controller, and controller can translate those requirement into the form of your network configuration, push it towards the network. So this guy, this Mr. can enable your network to get integrated with the application. Okay. So I'm not specifying any specific controller. I'm not specifying any specific solution. We are at very high level. Let me be clear. I'm talking on a very high level side. I'm not talking about the integrities and technicalities of specific controller or specific solution. Okay. Second is cloud adoption, scalability, and integration. This SDN story makes the cloud adoption easy. How? Basically, it will let your network sit into the cloud, and means you cannot put the entire network on day one itself into the cloud, right? It's a phase by phase approach. So you have half of your network which is sitting on the cloud and half of the network which is on prem. So how this SDN is going to make that balance between the cloud hosted application and on prem hosted application, and you will be having a consistent connectivity. So again, this guy SDN controller will have visibility towards the cloud, maybe whatever cloud, AWS or Azure or Google, whatever it is. So this SDN controller will let you talk to the cloud, and your on-prem DC and your cloud hosted application can work consistently, can work parallelly. And being a user, you will be having a consistent connectivity across your cloud as well as your on-prem data center. It does provide you scalability because it is not limiting you either to use on-prem or just cloud. Means no just on-prem, no just cloud. You can have a scattered application, or you can have a scattered infrastructure across the cloud as well as on-prem. So what you can do is that you can have a consistent connectivity. You can have a big umbrella which covers both your on-prem as well as the cloud adoption. Okay. SaaS application awareness. Most of the SDN solution, I'm again repeating my point. Most of the SDN solutions are capable enough to get integrated with your SaaS vendor, such as Salesforce Office 365, and that will provide you a direct access to those applications instead of backhauling the network through your traditional WAN. So that will make that rich experience of that SaaS application. It will so there are many different terms across different solution, different vendors, but at the end of the day, what does that mean is it will let your branch access your SaaS applications directly instead of backhauling your traffic. That is the main point. Okay. Optimal routing based on the application. Again, you must have heard application aware routing, or you can say traffic based on application or application intelligence. There's so many terms to be used, but the routing is going to based on your application. No more routing is based on so-called routing protocols best path, and that is again we all know based on their respective cost, which have their own, and that get calculated by their own mechanisms. Like RIP is calculating their best path in a different way compared to EIGRP or OSPF, right? So means why should my application will hamper based on how routing protocol is basically using that, how that particular routing protocol is selecting the best path? Why do I care about it, right? So let's take an example. You have site A and you have site B connected via three different paths: path 1, path 2, and path 3. And they connect it to the sun. So I have three different paths. This is 1 gig, this is 10 gig, this is again 1 gig. This is their respective bandwidths. I'm running some XYZ routing protocol, whatever, EIGRP, OSPF, whatever you wanted to use. Which path is going to be taken? Obviously, path 2, because that is a 10 gig link, higher bandwidth, and all routing protocol calculates their cost based on the bandwidth, most of them. So, okay, I agree with you. It should be path 2 because it is 10 gig. It have the quite good lot of bandwidth, so it should be used. But what happened is the rate of traffic which is coming from the LAN is 11 gig per second. The rate of traffic is coming at 11 gig per second. I have a number of users sitting. Means can you control that? Means can you let users, hey, don't send traffic over 10 gig, I have my best path chosen as 10 gig? No, you cannot. Means I agree, you can put so many XYZ QoS security blah blah, so many things to do that, but your traffic is coming at 11 Gbps, and the rate, the routing protocol which you are using can understand this rate, that hey, my best path is 10 gig and traffic is coming at 11 gig. I should use other links also. I agree. They are not best. Okay. They are not good links, but at least use them. If my 1 gig can be splitted across these two 1 gig links, then traffic will be smooth, but not. This is not what will happen. What happen is your traffic will start dropping, right? Traffic get delayed. So if that is going to happen, then what is the point of selecting the best path or calling it as a best path if it cannot understand my flow, right? So application aware routing is actually playing a very major role to segregate your flows based on the application, so that each and every application have their own individual path, individual flow, and based on that your routing decisions are going to made instead of that so-called higher bandwidth or lower link cost. Automation plug and play SDN enables you to achieve an automated solution in which you can do your day-to-day operation automation. You can do provisioning, automated provisioning such as zero touch provisioning or plug and play sort of solutions. Centralized control and management. All the SDN solution have a central management, single pane of glass, which will be used for the entire management of your network, and not just management, I would say your day-to-day operation. So your day one, day two, both will be managed by your central management solution. It can be a controller or it can be XYZ, whatever way. But most of the SDN solutions comes with that central management plane. CapEx and OpEx optimization. It optimize your capital. It optimize your CapEx. It optimize your OpEx model. Why? Because first of all, it won't ask you to change the entire hardware on day one. Means you can say that, hey, okay, you told so many high level things and so many good things about the solution, but trust me, my CFO is not going to allow me to change the entire infrastructure just like that. And why? Because of this new story of SDN. That is not possible if we think from a business perspective. So what basically this SDN solution says that keep it whatever you have, keep everything whatever you have. On top of it, we will enable this SDN solution. Again, a high level story. Different solutions works in a different way, and utilize the existing hardware in a different way. But yes, all your SDN solutions are capable enough to use and get integrated with your existing hardware. Not all hardware, specific respective to that solution. Okay. Secondly, it optimize your day-to-day operations. Why? Because you don't need to do that, go on site and provision a particular devices or bring that branch up. Doesn't that those things are not required. You have a automated solution, you have a zero touch provisioning solution, you have a plug and play sort of solution, which will basically applies your provisioning part, and that will reduce down your day-to-day operations, the cost incurred in your day-to-day operations. Make sense? Let's move forward. Now let's come to Cisco. Cisco is having multiple solutions for their multiple verticals. What I'm going to talk about is from an enterprise network perspective, we have Cisco SD-WAN, we have Cisco SD-Access. From a data center perspective, we have Cisco ACI. There are other solutions, there are other vendors. I'm going to limit myself to this only in this particular session. Okay. So hope I'm making sense to all of you guys. You have chat window open. I would like to take a short pause here, and I would like to hear from you. Not big comments, at least yes, no. How how much of the content is making sense to you so far, and how much of the content you are able to grasp. Okay, guys, respond with yes, no's over the chat so that I would I'll be able to understand how I am proceeding with the session. Okay, thank you. What about other folks? Okay. Good to hear that you guys are able to understand and you guys like the session, whatever we have. Still not clear enough from the practical side. Correct. Because I haven't talked anything practical yet. It's all high level story. Right now, I'm talking about the high level SDN solution as a whole. But when we actually get on ground, SDN itself is not something which we will implement. Okay. SDN is a big umbrella. Try to understand this way. SDN is a big umbrella in which there are many solutions which relies. So people have different opinion, different mindsets like, hey, SD-WAN is SDN or SD access is SDN or ACI is SDN. What exactly SDN is? So SDN is actually the entire picture. Inside that, we have different solutions. So this is your SDN in which you have your SD-WAN as one solution, which is playing role on the WAN side, WAN network side. You have SD access, which is another solution, and which is playing role on your LAN side. You have ACI. ACI is another solution which is playing role in the data center. So if I ask you to implement SDN on my WAN network, then it's a SD-WAN. If I ask you to implement SDN on my access network, on my LAN network, then it's a SD access. If I ask you, hey, I have a huge data center and I would like to enable this story of SDN in my data center, then yes, we are going to talk about ACI. Okay. So SDN is as a whole, it's an entire solution and that have their respective solutions for respective part of your network. Okay. So and try to understand this way. SDN is a big umbrella. Inside that you have many different solutions. SD-WAN is SDN on the WAN side. SD access is SDN on the LAN network. ACI is SDN on the data center. Makes sense. So let's take let's take it forward. Let's talk about SD-WAN. So basically, I have just few slides on each and every solution. Again, I'm not getting big into the technicalities. I'm going to talk about on the higher level side of the each and every solution. I have videos already there on each and every solution, which we'll talk about in depth on my YouTube channel. You guys can watch that. You guys can reach me out if you wanted to get into any specific solution. So first of all, SD-WAN. Why do I need SD-WAN? First of all, we need to understand the drawbacks of traditional WAN. Okay. So traditional WAN is not capable to handle today's application and WAN requirement. The points which we discussed in my previous slide, that today's applications are very dynamic in nature. Okay. Today's application is more dependent on the WAN side. Why? Because you are hosting somewhere on the internet. You are hosting somewhere over the cloud, over the globe. So it is getting difficult to manage, to basically manage your applications from your legacy WAN. You need some intelligent WAN solution who can understand your application and where they are hosted. Adoption of services like SaaS, IaaS, again, with the point which we already discussed, we are talking about SaaS integrations. So SaaS integration is something which will let you integrate your SaaS applications to your SD-WAN solution and let your branches access directly to those SaaS application. IaaS integration with the cloud. So you have some of the applications which are hosted on your network, on your on-prem data center, and some of the applications which are hosted on cloud. So you can do that consistent connectivity, you can do that check, you can do that integration of those services with your existing network. Exposing an enterprise to the internet can introduce threats and compliance issues. Obviously, it will introduce, because as the man says that, okay, connect directly your branch to the internet. Means, does it compliant for you? First of all, there are so many compliance which you need to meet as an organization, and obviously it will announce so many threats to your branch. So how that security is going to take place? So SD-WAN is going to take care about it. Limited application visibility and the understanding of the network. If you understand that those points, if you just have a look on the points which I have mentioned, it is pretty much similar like what we talked about why SDN is. Because SD-WAN is nothing. SD-WAN is a part of SDN. It comes from SDN. So when we talk about so many drawbacks, that why do we need SDN, actually those drawbacks applies to all the SDN solutions, right? Then we have option of expensive WAN circuit with limited features. There are, if we talk about across the globe, there are many countries some where the internet circuits are quite expensive. There are many countries where MPLS circuits are quite expensive, right? So if we take this way, that let's say you need to have a temporary branch, maybe for 4 to 5 users to for a particular period of time, and all your sites are connected with a particular WAN circuit. Now, on the particular location where you are opening up that temporary branch, that particular WAN circuit is quite expensive. So for opening up a temporary branch, that too for a period of a time, for a particular period of time, it doesn't make sense to buy that expensive WAN circuit, irrespective it's MPLS or internet. Okay. So that expensive WAN circuit, and that too just to provide the connectivity, doesn't make sense. So what SD-WAN will do is, SD-WAN will let you provision your temporary branch with whatever way of connectivity you have there, maybe a broadband, maybe a mobile internet, or maybe a 4G LTE connection. Doesn't make sense. Sorry, doesn't matter. Whatever way of connectivity you have, you will be able to integrate that particular branch and communicate with the other branches. So that's where SD-WAN story come in. There are so many terms going here and there that SD-WAN is going to replace MPLS. No, that's why I use this specific term, expensive WAN circuit. I'm not using MPLS as a term. Okay, SD-WAN is not something which is saying which is going to replace MPLS. No, SD-WAN is saying that you doesn't need though that particular type of WAN circuit everywhere, what you used to have in your branches. They will let your branch communicate with the other branches with whatever mean of connectivity they have. That's where that SD-WAN come into the place. And that's where people have that confusion of, okay, SD-WAN is going to replace MPLS, or SD-WAN is going to not, SD-WAN is going to replace that MPLS L3 VPN, blah, blah, so many things. But that's not true. I guess it is making sense to you that SD-WAN is there to replace the requirement of having that expensive WAN circuit everywhere. Okay. End-to-end security with IPsec. SD-WAN does provide you end-to-end security using IPsec with the branch-to-branch tunneling mechanism. Now we'll talk about how SD-WAN is going to overcome those issues of the traditional WAN, increase the bandwidth through the activation of idle backup link through dynamic load balancing. You will be able to do, you have ISP1, ISP2, two links, one is active, one is standby. And if we ask you, hey, can you achieve a load balancing across that? It is actually a big deal. So how exactly you are going to achieve that load balancing? There are so many policies or so many routing stuff with which you need to play around. But what SD-WAN is going to do, SD-WAN you doesn't need to do anything to achieve that. SD-WAN will enable that load balancing for you across different type, different ISP links. Again, on the WAN side, delivering faster cloud access by enabling direct internet access, the integration of SaaS model, which I was talking about. So DIA, direct internet access, is the term which we use on Cisco SD-WAN for connecting your branch directly to the SaaS provider, whether it's Office 365, Salesforce, Dropbox, whatever it is. And it will let your branch talk directly to them instead of going to your regional data center and then reach to those particular services. Okay. Reduce operational and management costs through centralized management that was commonly cloud based. You have that centralized management, and that centralized management is going to use that particular single pane of glass, that controller thing, which is going to be used for management as well as your day-to-day operations. Lowering WAN costs through the use of cheaper internet or LTE connectivity as an alternative to MPLS. Again, now here I'll put the terms more specifically. You can have maybe you have MPLS as expensive circuit, or you can have a internet as expensive circuit, but this will let you talk to each other or let your branch talk to other branches by the use of any mean of connectivity you have. At the end of the day, you just need a WAN connectivity, that's all. Whether it's an LTE, whether it's a broadband, whether it's a ILL or whatever it is. SD-WAN, as a being part of the SDN family, it does provide you automation and day-to-day your plug and play operation, which will let your provisioning of the branch easy, and it will let your branch to talk to directly to that providers of that particular services. Now, how we understand the issues with the traditional WAN, we understand that how SD-WAN is going to overcome those. Now, what is SD-WAN? SD-WAN is the derived from economy of the SDN, as I already mentioned. SD-WAN simplifies the challenges of the WAN in today's network and application requirement by providing application visibility and single pane of glass for management and automation features such as PNP and ZTP, plug and play and zero touch provisioning. So that it provide that controller based solution which will let your application to get integrated, as I already discussed. It will let your provisioning automated. It will let your management managed by a single pane of glass. Okay. This is very much similar that how SDN will work, or how SDN implements that virtualized overlay solution to achieve this solution as a whole. Am I making sense? So that's about the introduction of SD-WAN solution. I'll proceed next to SD access. SD access is your SDN on the LAN side. Again, very much similar when it comes to why do we need SD access. There were many challenges which we used to face on the LAN side when it comes to the provisioning of the LAN. So we will be overcoming those issues. Some of the issues are network deployment challenges, deploying a layer 2 network. When we say campus is actually a layer 2. I don't need to mention, actually, you all guys are network engineers. I don't need to mention that what is the issue with this layer 2 network, or what is the issue you will face on access network side, right? So there are a couple of challenges such as deployment challenges, security challenges, which I mentioned, and the IoT was one of them. Wireless and wired network challenges, segregating the wireless network with the wired network operation challenges, day-to-day operations. Just think about in a layer 2 network, you get into a loop. Means somewhere some application is connected which is not responding. Now you find out where exactly that. First of all, where exactly that application is connected. Second, how that why this application is getting slow. Third thing, and if it is getting slow because of any sort of loop, how they where exactly that loop is happening. Okay, these couple of points, I'm just mentioning couple of them, is are the major main points when it comes to pain points when it comes to the management of the campus net. Okay, now how SD Access is going to overcome this? SD Access will going to overcome those by enabling a policy-based automation from the edge to the cloud. SD Access provides the next generation capabilities such as automated end-to-end services. So it will provide you the segmentation. Segmentation is not based on your legacy VLAN and IP sub, frankly saying. Here, segmentation is much more advanced. So take an example, this client one, client two, client. So let's say 1, 2, 3, and 4. These 4 clients are have 4 different types. First thing or first sort of easiness which SD Access will provide us is that I can have a one consistent network across my entire campus, including my IoT infrastructure network, my corporate network, my guest user network, my what you call contractor network, whatever you would like to call it. So everyone is going to rely on one network, one VLAN. Okay, you may think, hey, what you are saying, one VLAN, one network for entire campus. How's that possible? We used to learn that okay, there are 5 VLANs. One is HR department, one is IT department, sales department. So there will be different VLANs, and now you are saying one VLAN for an entire campus. So that is actually possible with the SD Access. Why? Because SD Access says that you need to overcome the level of segmentation which you used to have. So the level of segmentation which you used to have was VLAN and IP subnet. Now the level of segmentation which you are going to have is your based on the type of the user, how which type of user it is. So if it is a corporate user, with the help of the integration of ICE and DNA Center, DNA Center is actually you can say sort of SDN controller for SD Access. Like in SD-WAN, we have vManage. Here we have DNA Center. And then with the help of this integration, ICE will let the DNA Center know, hey, this is a corporate user because it is getting authenticated using .1x. Hey, this is a guest user because he is getting authenticated using your guest splash page or guest portal. Hey, this is an infrastructure device because it is getting authenticated using MAC address bypass, map based authentication, right? So these all are the things which ICE will tell to DNAC, and based on that DNAC will do the segmentation in your network. So no more segmentation based on the VLAN and IP subnet. Segmentation is actually based on the type of the user they are. Okay. User and device policy for any application automated across the wireless wired network via single network fabric. One single network fabric, and that to a layer 3 network. This complete fabric is IP fabric, IP based fabric. It's a layer 3 fabric. Again, I'm not getting into the integrity of any specific solution, but this particular IP fabric is letting your wired and wireless user to use one IP fabric to access all your applications and apply your access policies across your network, irrespective of the type of user they are. Okay. A transformational shift allowing IT to build and manage a network faster and more easily with improved business efficiency. So obviously, when you have everything automated, when you have everything well segmented, I would say, then you will be able to achieve a more managed and more granular campus network solution. How is the access going to benefit your organization? End-to-end segmentation, as I said, not just based on the VLAN and IP, based on the type of user they are in and how they are getting access to the network. Improved workforce experience, automate the users access policies. So based on the type of user, the policy will be defined. So you don't need to specify policy based on specific user or specific network, specific VLAN. You just say that, okay, this group of user can do this thing, and this group of user can do that thing. So based on that, your policy will be defined and your policy will be implemented. Operational effectiveness. Obviously, your operations are going to effective because it is no more going to be a layer 2 operations. It is going to be a IP fabric based operation. It is going to be an overlay based operation, which will let you drive the entire network based on the overlay, in which you have your underlay, which is your IP fabric, which is based on the layer 3 network. Okay. Business insight, bright outdoor, rugged industrial IoT endpoints into IT fold, and expand your business to the traditional, expand your business beyond your traditional network. So the integration of the IoT, the integration of the infrastructure nodes into your campus network, which will let you to leverage more services from a business standpoint. Okay. So that was more on SDA. Now the last part of the solutions, which is a Cisco ACI. Again, on the higher level side, I'm going to overview it. So Cisco ACI is going to support the new adoptions in the data center. So ACI is a solution, is a SDN solution for the data center. So again, same stories. Why do we need ACI? The applications is the combination of physical and virtual infrastructure these days. Earlier, we used to have one server, one application. Now, one server can host hundreds of applications because of the great gift provided to us of virtualization. Okay. And now even we are getting more into virtualization is getting virtualized in form of Dockers and containers. The choose of different hypervisors. We know when we say virtualization, there are many different hypervisors which can support virtualization. We have VMware, we have Red Hat, we have Microsoft, and they have their own way of behaving. So how can you have a consistent solution across your entire cloud, entire data center, which will support your different hypervisors and which will give you a consistent connectivity across your different hypervisor where they all are behaving in a different way, whether it is from a network perspective or it is from a application perspective. Private versus public cloud. So there are many organizations who are having their own private clouds. There are organizations who are relying on the public cloud. How you are going to manage that private versus public cloud competition, or the organizations who have services hosted on private as well as on the public. So you need that kind of SDN solution in your data center to meet these requirements. Now, ACI as a solution, ACI is basically the combination of Nexus 9000 series. As I said, all these SDN solutions are letting you to use your existing hardware. So you have your Nexus 9000 series. You just need to convert them from NXOS mode to ACI mode, and they will be able to meet your ACI requirement. You need to have a controller. As I said, all SDN controllers are all SDN solutions are having controller. So ACI is having a controller called APIC, Application Policy Infrastructure Controller, that is going to manage your entire ACI solution. And the main part is the industry leading ecosystem. It will let you to do the integration with the non-Cisco components as well. Non-Cisco components as in not from a hardware perspective, from the solutions perspective, such as you can integrate Red Hat based hypervisor, you can integrate your CA server, you can integrate your Citrix load balancer, you can do automation of configuration using Python, you can do L4, L7 integrations with the third party devices such as firewalls and load balancers. So it have a industry leading ecosystem. Transition to the ACI, quite simpler. You were having standalone Nexuses which were in NXOS mode. You just need to convert them into ACI mode and put a APIC control. That's all. That's the only level of transition you need to have. As soon as you do that, you will be in the ACI solution. And guys, if you ask my thoughts and if you ask my view on it, I can say ACI is one of the most market leading SDN solution. Not just by, I'm not specifying by Cisco, but ACI is one of the major component of, and trust me, if you are thinking from a future growth perspective, ACI is going to go way forward. The how it is basically transiting the it how the it will make that transition from a legacy data center to the new data center is seriously great, and how it is managing your virtual as well as physical infrastructure. So these are the points which makes your which makes the ACI as a solution best suits the data center requirement. Network and application hand by hand. So you have the network and applications running hand by hand. You have your VM infrastructures integrated with your ACI. As I said, VMware based hypervisor, Microsoft based hypervisor, Red Hat based hypervisors. You can do integration, your ACI, do understand them, do the segregation for you. So for an example, you have web servers. So I'm just giving a small example. You have 3 physical servers. Okay. This physical server is having 3 web servers, 4 app servers, virtual VMs. This physical server have 2 web servers and 5 application servers. This physical server is having 10 web servers and 2 application servers. Okay. So these are 3 physical servers. This is your server 1. We have server 2. Okay. You integrated it with ACI using VMM in the domain. With the help of this integration, ACI will do this segregation of web and app. It will understand the VMs, it will understand the characteristic of the VM and put it into the different groups, different virtual containers called EPGs, endpoint groups, and assign them into different set of policies. You doesn't need to care about it. That is what SDI ACI will do by it. Okay. ACI fabric, ACI is again same IP fabric. It follows the spine and leaf architecture from a legacy data center. I'm not digging into it. Otherwise, this session will go a way long. I already was about to have that 30 to 45 minutes. I already took it 1 hour. So you can understand these solutions are very vast. Okay. And very, you can say it have good lot of technicalities into it. So talking in one session about all solution is not practically possible. So there will be set of videos I already have and I'm going to have in near future also. And those you can focus on those videos when it comes to the specific solutions. Okay. So thank you so much guys for attending this session. I know it was quite of short or on the higher level side, but I will come to the specific solutions and I will explain their technicalities in my future videos. I already mentioned in the beginning, it's an introductory. So from introduction perspective, I guess this make good sense to you. Now, I'll be opening up for a couple of minutes for Q&A. If you guys have any question, anything to ask me, I would love to answer those. Go ahead, guys, use chat window. When will be next session? Very good question and very difficult question. I seriously want to have that in a short period of time, but it completely depends on availability. Got occupied in many different stuff, so sometime it was very difficult to create that video. But yes, I will try to do that sooner. And by the way, thanks for showing your interest in my next session also. Any other question, guys? Okay. Thank you. So I won't see much questions. I guess either I did a good job that you understand the solution as a whole, or maybe everything got just bounced above your head. Okay, thank you guys. So I will be posting this video sooner in my YouTube channel. I request you guys to subscribe me on YouTube and watch my other sessions also. And do share this video with the other folks who have not joined or who were not able to join this session. Okay. So I can say good to go. You guys have a nice evening, nice day, whatever it is for you. And see you in my next session. Bye.